Awesome.
3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. Monica with No Conditions. I am here with Mr. Carlos, the owner of the Palomino Room in Red Bluff. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Absolutely. Like I said before, when we first started this, you were the #1 person everybody wanted to talk to. So I'm just going to let it rip. I want to know, I'm just going to go into it. What was the look of the council members' faces whenever you first started talking? Because that's the #1.
From what I can see from the bridge of their noses up, they were a little appalled. They were probably like, who's the fuck who they just let in? They should have screened this shit. But no, let me tell you something. I mean, I've always kind of ended up the accidental leader of any movement I've ever been in. It's not because I set out to be the guy in charge. I think I just sort of fall into that spot naturally because I'm not afraid to say what I think. So my friend Alyssa McEwen, who was putting this whole deal together at Shasta County Board of Supervisors, I told her I'd show up, and I did. I showed up that day. It wasn't my intention to stay very long because just that night. So we raised bucking bulls for a living, and that night we were going to buck some bulls, at my house. And so I had to be back by 7:30, but I said, hey, I'll show up for a little bit, and kind of say hi and, and shake hands, kiss babies, and then I got to go. But on my way out, I wanted to give her a hug. I said, listen, I got to go. I got to head home. And she said, no, you're not. She said, you got to give a speech. You got to speak before you go. And there was a pretty long line, which obviously I had no time to wait in. So she threw me to the front of the line and threw me in the door. And there I was. So, I figured, hey, now's my chance. I do believe in some kind of divine intervention. I believe in some kind of, divine appointment. There's something bigger than us out there, whatever you want to call it. So maybe that was my moment, So I went in there and I said, look, I might not get another chance to say my piece, and I might get another chance to tell them what I actually think. Not only what I think, but I think what most people are thinking, right? And so I sort of let them have it. And the reaction was civil. As far as I could tell, I couldn't really, see much behind their masks. There was one of them that was falling asleep, which I, comedically called out. but I didn't really see the results. I fully expected that by the time I got home and went to bed that night that I would have a sheriff knocking on my door, or some kind of agent, knocking on my door and asking me about terrorist threats, And let's be clear. I mean, that was not my intention to threaten anybody, but it was to warn them of our intention and what our capabilities are, So, I mean, as far as like what the message was, I just knew that I had to get as many words out. I'm a much better speaker than I show on that video. That was a 3-minute fast talked video, but I figured I had to get enough information out in 3 minutes, seeing that I was on a time limit. But I want to make a couple things clear. I want to make clear that we were frustrated. I want to be clear that there was a sense of urgency, and I want to be clear that we were willing to do something about it, And so I didn't really see the results of it until I think it was the next night when I saw an article come out in the Record Searchlight. And I believe the center of that article was Leonard Modi, who was our old police chief, and he's now a supervisor. And he was basically begging the governor to do something because he was afraid of the civil unrest that was imminent in his area. And I believe that came not only from my message, but from the other speakers as well, So let's not diminish the importance of what other people said that night as well. I think they said some pretty important things, just probably not as, explicit as maybe I said it, but.
Do you ever remember it being like this though? Like I've never ever, like I said, I'm the 3rd generation beautician. If this would have happened 20 years ago, my mother would be in jail. I never thought in a million years that I would ever have my livelihood threatened over a $10 haircut.
No,
you've threatened people to, you got to get off of work, and now people want you and you're going to get them for it.
So I've done everything that society in this country has asked of me. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents came here in 1977. They came here to live the American dream. And I'm a product of that. I'm a product of a guy who grew up with very little means. I didn't have a lot growing up. We had a lot of love and support from our family. We had a beautiful, wonderful, supporting family, but we just didn't have a lot of money, And I always thought that, man, what a perfect chance for me to actually live this American dream, to go out and build something for myself, you know? And if you ever would have told me that this American dream, living out the American dream, would lead to a criminal identity, I would have said, well, this is crazy. This is absurd. Because now think about this. We are criminals for doing something as simple as opening our businesses. And now think about that for a second. It might sound like it's pertinent to this time. It might sound like it makes sense in this pandemic, if you want to call it that. But in no other context does that make any fucking sense at all, that I would be a criminal for opening the doors to my business, you know,
And given
using that I paid for, you know? So no, I don't remember it this way. I think if this had been 30 years ago, shit, I think, you know, the last generation probably would have put a bullet in somebody's head, you know, but we've become so passive. We've become so conditioned over time to think that we're not allowed to fight, that we can't fight, that, you know, that we'll go to prison. And everybody's afraid to go to prison. I've never been to jail. I don't know. I got arrested one time when I was young.
Chicks like me get traded for moon pies and cigarettes. I ain't doing it.
I'm too pretty to go to, look at me. I'm way too pretty to go to prison. I can't.
You would get traded for moon pies and cigarettes and probably top ramen. I hate to tell you that, but it's the truth. Yeah.
Well, I know well enough not to pick up the soap, you know, and I think that's kind of safe, I guess. I don't know.
I'd be the dirtiest girl you ever fucking saw in your life.
I mean, I gotta get traded for something good. If I'm gonna get traded and sold, it's gotta be for something good, though. I can't get traded for some cheap pack of Turkish cigarettes. It's gotta be something good, you know? At least Marlboro Reds or something.
My luck, they'd be like, how'd she die? Over a Hot Pocket.
Yeah. Hot Pocket. An extra piece of fucking Wonder Bread. Holy shit. You know?
But I think that at some point, you've got to admit that every train, it's got to stop. It runs out of track. Every single train runs out of track. How can people fucking survive? The domestic violence has gone up. The child abuse has gone up. Suicide has gone up. We have lost more to suicide in our county than we ever have from this disease. And these are good, honest, middle class, you know, God-fearing people that literally thought that there was nothing left for them to do for their family. And that just, it breaks my fucking heart.
No, it does. And this is what's incredible, right, is that we accept that, you know, and we're okay with that. So I get yelled at if I go to the store and I'm not wearing a mask, so I refuse to wear a goddamn mask, you know, and I get called irresponsible. I'm sure if you follow my Facebook, you've seen the people on there calling me, you know, a killer because I'm trying to kill their grandparents because I'm not wearing a fucking mask and all this, you know. But they're not accounting for the real threat, right? Because I've been taught my whole life to deal with the real and imminent threats in your life, and that's what you deal with. Move on to the next phase, right, to the next step or whatever you're doing. Well, this COVID thing is not a threat to me. You know, I feel on a scale from 1 to 10, I feel a 0 as far as a threat goes, you know. I feel that even if I did have it, I'd be okay. So I'm not concerned with it. And that doesn't mean that I'm not concerned with somebody else getting sick. I just really, really don't think that this is it. I think there's 1,000,005 other things that are going to get you before this motherfucker does, you know, before this COVID deal does. So with that said, we cannot shut down the economy. We shouldn't shut down our systems in our country, you know, to save a few. And I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds really insensitive, you know, but it's not. In fact, I think it's the other way around. I think I'm really, you know, concerned with the larger percent of the population, you know, who's working and just trying to feed a family. I'm more concerned with them. I'm more concerned with, you know, well, here's the deal. I told my wife, and my wife works at the hospital. She's a nurse at the hospital, and she's a badass. She's been a nurse for a lot of years, you know, and she's like, this is all bullshit, you know. I mean, this whole thing is just not at all on the side of science, right? Real science and real common sense says that people like us are on the right side of things, you know. But I was talking to her the other day, and I said, you know, I feel like I've gotten used to a low level of depression. And I'm not a depressed person. I'm usually a happy person. I'm outgoing. I'm hardworking. I like to be out and about and doing things. But I feel like I've sort of accepted this low level of depression in my life, you know, where I'm sort of like, you know, not super sad, but not super happy either. And business owners like myself and like yourself, we get off on winning, right? We would never have gone into business or taken over a business for ourselves if there wasn't a chance at winning. So it's sort of, I sort of feel like that, maybe like a football player who's told that, hey, you're allowed to tie the game and you're allowed to lose, but you're not allowed to win. And I'm like, well, shit, the thing I get off on, I think it really turns me on, I think it gets me off and gets me high in life is winning. It's having a badass night at the bar, having a badass week, making a lot of sales, winning. That's what fucking turns me on, you know? And I feel like I'm not allowed. Like I've been robbed of that. So not right now, okay, you can have outdoor dining, so you maybe fucking tie the game. Maybe you fucking break even, you know? Maybe you make a little bit of money. Well, I didn't go into business to make a little bit of money. I went into business to get fucking rich, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know? And you went into business to get rich and to be wealthy and to do well for your family and for yourself. You don't go into business and risk everything you fucking have to maybe break even, you know? But that's socialism. That's communism. That's what they want us to do. They want to get rid of the best and the brightest. They want to bring the alphas like ourselves, like myself, you know, down to be a bunch of fucking little gamma bitches who are afraid to fight for themselves and afraid to do anything right, you know? So anyways.
And see, another thing too, I never thought about this, but my mom was right. And moms usually are, is she said,
Yeah.
because I was telling her the same thing. I said, you know, I feel exhausted every fucking day. And she goes, you want to know why? Is because you feed off of people. You want to bring joy to people's lives. And now you are trying to overdo the joy to where you see all these people who are depressed and you're trying to find a positive, where before you were going back and forth, you know, it was a give and take. It was a give and take to these people. And I'm sure I can say it the same as you. When somebody walks into the bar, 9 times out of 10, you pretty much know what kind of fucking day they're going to have. And you can
100%,
take the
right
people,
away.
you take the people that have been happy there this whole entire time, and the one time that they're not, that you really need to feed off of that energy, and they come in and they're just as drained as you are. So there's no resource there for you to tap into. It sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so you know the whole essential. This kind of taps into the whole essential non-essential conversation. You know, and when this all started, you know, we sort of had to jump on one side of the line. You know, either we were essential, we were non-essential. You know, so we were told, well, you know, people don't need haircuts, people don't have to have their nails done, people don't need to go into a restaurant, they don't have to go into a bar, but they underestimate the value of that human connection. You know, and what they're taking away is the human factor, which we're doing a whole lot more than cutting hair. I'm doing a whole lot more than giving somebody a beer. You know, we act as, you know, the psychologists of the world, if you will. You know, how many people and customers have come and cried on your shoulder, or maybe have turned their life around because of something you said to them, you know, or some encouragement that you gave them. You know, not everybody that comes into a bar is trying to get drunk and pick up, you know, somebody to go home and sleep with. You know, a lot of people just come in there because it's a place for them to pass the time, and it's a place for them to have a sense of community. You know, we go out to eat because maybe we'll run into some friends and we'll be able to share a meal together. We'll have to, you know, maybe share a drink together. And anyways, you know, all that to say that you cannot take away the human factor out of a society, because then what you have is a bunch of robots, which is a very Prussian and Russian approach to life. And we're not, you know, I mean, if you go to China lacks romance in their culture, right? If you go to the Chinese culture, they're very effective in building technology and in working, but they have zero romance in their culture. And as Westerners, we have a lot of romance in our culture. We value just art and conversation and poetry and philosophy, you know, and we gain a lot of these things through just that human interaction that you might get at the hair salon or at the bar or at a restaurant, you know. So we can't ever underestimate that, because that really, at the end of the day, is what makes us different. That's what makes us Americans, you know, is a freedom to go and say and speak the things that are on our minds. And where the fuck are we going to do that if we can't go to a place of worship? I can't even go to a church now to talk to people.
Nope.
So
And
it shows
most
you what
people going
priorities.
to your establishment, you know, if you think about it, one of my buddies was telling me is, you know, he said, you know, I used to go to the bar, you know, he's an essential worker. He has PTSD. He fought over in Iraq. He had PTSD. So whenever he comes home from work, he goes and has a beer, totally relaxes,
Yeah.
and then goes home.
Good.
Because if I go home after work after a stressful day, he goes, why am I going to do that? I'd rather decompress. That way my family gets the best of me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's exactly where people are at. They've come to get haircuts from me instead of going straight home. You know, I came here to get 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you been seeing any customers at all during this time?
Yeah.
Yes. I know it's the air, but I'm sure you have. I'm sure just like, hey, I mean, I'll say it right now. We've been open, you know, I've been kind of like running a sort of a undercover bar, which I hate to say, but you know, fuck it. You know, I mean, I got to see my customers and we have to be able to make ends meet, you know, but I'm just curious as to what your customers are saying to you, you know?
My customers are sick of it. Believe it or not, I have a woman who's 102 years old.
Yeah.
And she told me that she is absolutely sick and tired of this bullshit. She's had it. She said, you know, it's a survival rate. Though she goes, if I got in my car right now, she goes, the percentage rate of me dying driving with as bad as my eyes are is higher than what of me dying from this COVID. She goes, I'm healthy. The only thing that's
Yeah.
got me is the age. That's it. She goes, I have a healthy set of lungs. I'm not on dialysis. And everybody that you talk to, they're like, well, this person passed away. Well, what was their underlying health? Well, they were on dialysis and they had a half a liver. Well, fuck.
Of course. Shit. Yeah, I'm sorry, but they were gonna die this year anyway, and God bless them. Like, I'm not saying anybody should.
You know what? Same here. I don't want hate mail, people. Don't. This is just strictly our opinions.
100%. And listen, you know, people are gonna die. I mean, that's kind of the cycle of life, right? And I even speak for myself. If I was in a situation where I was unhealthy and this thing took me away, I would never ask for the rest of the world to stop for me. You know, ever. So, you know, it's funny. I heard a story. This is how illogical we've become, right? So, I was talking, this is a couple months ago, to another hairdresser. She said she was doing a lady's hair, washed her hair, cut her hair. They'd been in close proximity for about 30 to 45 minutes, however long it took for the appointment. And when they were done, she went to give her client a hug, as they usually do. And she said, oh, no, we can't hug because of the COVID thing. And she said, wait, I just got done washing your hair, cutting your hair. I was on top of you for 30 to 45 minutes. Now we can't hug. So this is how illogical this whole thing has become, you know, where people have totally thrown out any kind of rational thinking and have just turned into absolute robots, abiding by whatever the government, you know, mandate is. And it's,
well, see, you hit the nail on the head. I got yelled at in the grocery store. Yeah. Big old fucking scene. I walked in the grocery store. I had my 9-year-old daughter with me. And this woman who probably 250, 280 with her husband, who was probably 320, 340. They were both wearing masks and I was not wearing a mask. And she walked up and for a split second, Carlos, I kind of had that, oh shit. Because as soon as she let go, I was like, you know, normally I'd tell her to pound sand and I'm going to steal your husband. But I didn't say that. I was nice.
Well, you don't want to steal that guy. If you're going to steal
No, I wasn't going to. I was tempted though, let me tell you. He did have the good mask on. And I looked and she was like, I can't believe that you're putting my husband's life in danger. He's a diabetic. He has a heart condition. And I looked inside their cart and I fucking shit you not, it looked like they were shopping for a fraternity. They had double stuffed Oreos. They had bagel bites. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? The COVID is not going to kill your husband. The double stuff and the fucking bagel bites are gonna get them. Like, follow the Cheeto dust. Like, that shit's gonna happen. Absolutely. You're coming at me because
but you're the bad person, right?
Yeah, I'm the bad fucking person.
And listen, I wish I could hire all this media to be my marketing strategist because they are fucking geniuses. They've really sold them on it, right? I mean, think about it. They are so effective in what they do. You know, if only those people could be marketing strategists for corporations, and maybe that's what they're doing. I mean, I don't know, but shit, they'd make millions. I'm at the dentist the other day. I had to take my 2 kids to the dentist to get their teeth cleaned, and I go in there, and we're the only people in the waiting room not wearing masks. Everybody else is wearing a mask, and which is fine. Wear a mask if you fucking want. I'm going to judge you. I think you're kind of a fucking coward if you wear a mask, but whatever. That's your prerogative. And of course, they're looking at us like, I mean, they were looking at me like I had a dick growing out of my fucking forehead, you know, like for not wearing a mask. Like, holy shit, what's wrong with this guy, right? Like, they look at you like you're a fucking leper. They kind of lean away from you. They sort of give you that stink eye. And I'm watching her kid. Her kid must have been 5 or 6, maybe 7 years old, you know, and his mask is clearly bugging him. It's kind of like pulling on his ears. It's falling down below his nose. And this mom has spent her entire time telling this kid, hey, pull it over your head or put it over your nose. It's got to stay over your nose. Keep your mask on. And I'm thinking, man, I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking, what are you teaching your children? I mean, you're teaching your children to be submissive to something that they don't even know they should be submissive to, right? And that's dangerous to me. So I already feel like this generation is full of fucking pussies, and it makes me sick to my stomach. But I feel like the next generation will just be completely out of whack, like even just so far gone that you're never going to get them back, you know?
Well, they played it good. They made it to where they played the marketing very well, into the point of, if you don't wear a mask, you're selfish. And nobody wants to be selfish.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody wants to feel, you know, that's how they're playing it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, you know. And it's us versus them. It's you know, my idea against your idea. It's responsible versus irresponsible. And that's what they want, the picture they want to paint. They don't, you know, take into consideration that we're pretty smart fucking people. Like I've lived this long through a lot of shit, you know, and I'll be okay without wearing a fucking piece of cloth over my goddamn face, you know.
That is proven ineffective, by the way.
Completely ineffective. There's a million videos out there. I think it's just funny when, you know, they say, oh, well, we're on the side of science. We have doctors and scientists who agree with us, right? And I said, well, so do we. But the problem is that when we have a doctor or a scientist agree with us, your job is to debunk them. They completely want to derail the person, you know, and degrade their credibility, you know, based on what they're saying. I'm like, well, you can't do that. You know, you got to start with the credentials and then go from there. You can't go the other way around, you know. Just because you don't like what they're saying doesn't debunk their credentials, you know. But they do it to us all the time, but they hate when we do it to them. You know, it's a complete double.
My question to you is how, like, you pretty much, you had it pegged right from the beginning. I mean, I watched your social media with the Palomino Room, all that.
Yep.
What was the?
I mean, so I'll tell you a story. So my family, we were all in Hawaii when this whole thing kicked off. You know, we were enjoying a very nice vacation in Oahu for my in-laws' anniversary. And we'd been there for about 10 days, and we ended up staying an extra week just because of this whole thing. But anyways, we were watching the news, right? So we're kind of like enjoying vacation. We're on the beach, having a great time. But at the same time, we're sort of following the news and seeing what's going to happen, you know. And I made a Facebook post back then. You can probably go back to my Facebook post. I made a post on my personal page that says, you know, I said something along the lines of, I'll volunteer to catch this COVID shit to make sure that it ain't shit, you know, to prove to everybody that it's not shit, you know. And I just had a feeling. I had a feeling, you know, that this was coming because we sort of heard about this corona thing early on. And I knew that they were going to make a big deal about it because if you remember a few years back with the whole H1N1, you know, bird flu, swine flu, whatever, all these flus we've had over the years, you know, we always knew they were coming and we always were careful like any human should be, but we never freaked out, right? I don't remember. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I don't remember any businesses shut down over the bird flu. I mean, do you? I mean,
no.
This pandemic type of shit. But early on, I sort of called it. You know, I kind of took a leap and went out on the edge and said, hey, you know what? I went out on a limb and said, you know, I think this is all bullshit because I just had a sense. And it wasn't scientific. It wasn't data-based. It was just really just a sense that I had that this whole thing was going to get blown into something to control us, you know, because I just kind of knew it was coming for a while. I mean, I read a lot, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, you know, but I read a lot of articles and stories and try to put them together as best I can to get a clear picture of what's going on. And so I sort of expected that something like this was coming. And so anyways, that's that. And then my wife being a very, very intelligent, smart nurse, you know, sort of thought the same thing. And listen, we were all cautious at first. At the very beginning of this, we were cautious enough to be respectful of the fact that maybe we would be wrong. And I hope to be wrong, you know, because, I mean, I don't just like to be cavalier for no reason. You know, I don't like to be a cowboy for no reason. I really do want to be on the right side of things, you know, and if you told me that, look, people are dying left and right, and here's what you got to do to keep people safe, I would do that, you know. But I just felt like that wasn't the case. You know, I felt like this was just really a sinister agenda that was being perpetrated upon us from the beginning. So
you think it was
and as time went on, right. What's that?
Do you think it was the government? Do you think it was too much of a government presence in most of this shit that immediately turned you, or was it? Do you think if
I
they would have?
felt like everything was so scripted. Like everything was very, very scripted. You know, I remember when we were in Iraq, you know, in 2005 and 2006, you know, I just remember that the person that won the battlefield was the person that told the story. Whoever got their story, if we got our story out first, you know, we're winning. If Al Qaeda and a terrorist got their story out first, they were winning. You know, so it was always a race to get our story out first, to win the population, to win the hearts and minds. And I felt like the government was doing a pretty good job at acting very quickly to get their story out. It seemed very prepackaged, and it seemed like it was just a very scripted thing that they were doing. You know.
I agree. So I want to go back to. I was watching on your Facebook page. What are your thoughts on the local government end? Do you feel like they've done their due diligence? Do you think they're backing? Are you getting backing now, or do you think that? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it comes down to money, and I think they're very, very afraid to tell the governor to fuck himself because he has them by the balls with funds, you know. And I think they're very, very afraid to to not get that money for the county, for the city, you know. I don't think there's any way around it. I'm super disappointed. I mean, I'm very, very disappointed in our supervisors. You know, I really thought that they would stand up, and they just haven't, not to the level that we would expect them to. You know.
Well,
So,
as I was saying before, it's time. You know, I've told you before, or I told you in the message, it's times like this. I keep waiting for that person to arise. You know, out of every county, you know, these leaders are not voted in. They
no.
are appointed. And those are the ones, you know, I've never seen it to where I don't give a shit if you regurgitate everything that the governor has said and just break it down for simple people, but at least say something. Nobody's saying anything. You
No,
know?
you're right. You're right. You know, if you remember the first phase of the lockdown, they at least gave us a plan ahead, right? They at least gave us some kind of an outlook and said, look, here's phase one. Once we hit this metric, then we'll go to phase two. Once we hit that metric, we'll move on to phase three. But the problem now, we have no metric and we have no phases to look forward to. So we don't even know where we are now, you know?
No.
And as I can tell, I mean, this is it. We're not seeing anything, you know, from the governor. And I don't know. I think, you know, the point of this whole conversation, I think the elephant in the room is that we're getting to a point where I think we actually might need a fight where nobody wants to. Like, no, I mean, I want to. I love to fucking fight, but nobody actually, I mean, nobody wishes that on the American people, right? Nobody wants civil war. It's terrible. It's probably one of the darkest parts of our history. What was the Civil War, you know, because it's Americans killing Americans. But at this point, I feel like, how do I put this without sounding like too much of an asshole? I think that.
I think you just need to let it fly.
All right, here we go. I
Like
feel like the people perpetrating and perpetuating this idea of the COVID thing, I feel like the left has turned in their patriotism card. You know, there was a time in this country where you had the left and you had the right. You had the Democrats or Republicans. You know, back when we started, it was the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. And we've always had our disagreements about the best way to run government, the best way to govern a society. I mean, that's classic. That's classic. And there should always be, or maybe more sides, you know, on every issue. But the issue that we're facing now is that you have one side that is very patriotic and actually wants the best for this country. You have another side that wants to see this country dissolved and diminished into being just like every other country in the world. And I've always believed in American exceptionalism. My family didn't, you know, uproot from another country to come here not to be exceptional. They came here because this country was exceptional and is exceptional. I still believe in it. I still get a tear every time I hear the national anthem. I get a tear every time, you know, I see a soldier, a Marine, an airman, or a sailor come home. You know, I think it's a beautiful thing. But when people have lost that sense of patriotism, then they've lost their voice. They've lost their right and privilege to have a voice in this political process. And I think that's where we're at now, where I can no longer respect the other side because are so fucked up and so far away from our American ideals that they don't even fit into the political process anymore. So that brings us to the point where we have to fight, because it's no longer about, oh, let's go vote somebody else in. It's make sure you vote, make sure you get to the polls, make sure you go and you cast your vote, to make a difference. No, fuck that. Those days are over. I mean, I think that we can vote all we want. I think it's all fraudulent. I think this next election is going to be very, very fraudulent, which is why they're trying to push all of the mail-in ballots. And we're already seeing the fucking mess that's going to be. So what are we left with, And I was talking, my mom is pretty funny, right? Because on an ethical level, she agrees with whatever I'm saying, but she's a mom and she's so scared. She calls me yesterday. She goes, son, you have to be careful what you say, because it could come. She has such a third world mentality. She has that mentality from when she was a kid, where if you talk back to a cop, they're going to beat you and throw you in prison. It's a very South American outlook on life. And it's a very South American perspective. I said, Mom, I understand what you're saying. You want me to sort of, be quiet. You want me to blend in. You want me to go with the flow and kind of wait and see what happens. Well, I don't even fucking know how. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not one of these guys that beats his chest to tell you how tough I am. I've never been that guy, but I certainly don't know how to be a coward. I mean, I wouldn't even know how. I mean, fuck. If you ask me, would you rather fight or have sex? I'd rather fight. I fucking love to fight, And I think that's in my DNA. It's just who I am, and I can't be any different than that, So when you tell me, hey, you just need to kind of just quiet down because they might come get you, I'll say, fucking come get me, I hope that you show up. I'm kind of like sitting there having dinner, hoping that somebody comes up my fucking driveway, hoping somebody comes up our road, and tries to knock on my door, because I'll welcome a fight, because I think this is fucking worth fighting for, I think there's
and it's also too, you got to remember is like, my mom, for example, my mom is a hippie. My mom sat on stage with Janis Joplin sharing a bottle of wild turkey. That's my mom. My dad was a fireman for 20 years. My husband was for almost 20 years. Like everybody, we are your true blue family. I mean, that's just how we are. We go in, and my mom always taught me. In fact, she told me she wanted it on her headstone. And she goes, you know what? She goes, pussies retreat.
Yeah.
Goes, us women and our family, we reload. So
yes. Thank you.
You reload and you move on. And she goes, and I am so sick and tired of people sitting there and expecting you to bend whenever they're unwilling to give in themselves. And she goes, nobody is willing to just pick a fucking side. Like, this is it, Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's sad, because I really do believe that we live in the most beautiful state in the union. I mean, I've traveled, and California to me is exactly what we always grew up thinking it was, right? And it is a land of milk and honey. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, where else are you going to be able to go to the beach or see our rivers or streams or mountains or, valleys? I mean, we absolutely have the most beautiful landscape in state in the country, And when I see people leaving, the state. I see people, oh, I'm going to go to Idaho, I'm going to go to Texas, I'm going to go to Oklahoma or Arizona. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I understand why you're doing that, but I'm not going to let anybody kick me out of my home. I'm not going to let anybody, like if somebody come into your house in the middle of the night, are you going to say, okay, cool, man, you can sleep in my bed. I'm just going to go find another bed to fucking sleep in? No, you're going to fucking fight, either kill them or kick them the fuck out of your house, So this is why I don't understand this mentality, because all we're going to be left with is a bunch of fucking shitbags if all the good people leave, So I would hope that people would stay here and fight and take this country back, because it is worth saving. It's the most beautiful country in the world, And when I say country, I mean, the land here in California is the most beautiful countryside you'll ever see. And it is worth saving. It's worth fighting for. And our roots here is so deep. I don't know that I could go rebuild somewhere else. I mean, But I will say this, I mean, luckily for me, I own a club in Florida, and that's what's saving my ass right now. I mean, if that wasn't open and doing well right now, shit, I'd be coming over to your house for dinner, I wouldn't know what to eat. But
I add another can of water to the soup, trust me.
Yeah, but luckily, I'm doing real well, and I've kind of hedged my bets, and I've been smart, and I bought a really good business out in Florida, which I fly out in a couple of days to go out there for a week, and I'm sort of back and forth with that. But luckily I have that. But I'm like, shit, why do I have to go to Florida and run a business there to be successful? Why can't I just do it here in California, And it's because Florida, I mean, has done a good job of handing it over to the counties, and the counties have done a good job of keeping things open, where here we've absolutely failed. And I think that, Newsom is a big part of that.
Oh, I completely, no good Newsom has literally done fucking nothing for me. And it's just not, I do want to ask you real quick though, what is your thoughts on this cashless shit? Because I will tell you, it's going to ruin a business for me. My business will be absolutely ruined, and my clients will not be able. Most of my clients are baby boomers, which, as you know, is one of the biggest generations. The biggest group that we have, and they don't carry cards. They don't know how to Venmo. They don't know it. It will be completely the biggest shit show on the planet.
Yeah. So I think you have to ask yourself why. Why do they want to get rid of our money? Why do they want to get rid of the fiat, right? I mean, from day one, I think when we were cavemen, we used rocks and we carved certain things into rocks and stones, and we used that for currency, and then and that evolved obviously into what we have now, which is printed money that we've had for a long time now. And what that does, I think, printed money gives you a sense of autonomy. It gives you a sense of freedom. In that, let's face it, I mean, if you're a business owner, I'm going to say it's like it is. I don't care if the IRS, FBI, whoever the fuck is listening can fuck themselves, But the reality is that it's built in, it's woven into the fabric of who we are as business owners to allow some level of cash that we're not paying taxes on, right? And let's just say it like it is. Like I could not survive. I could not run a restaurant, a bar, a club, whatever business I'm in, without allowing some bit of cash just to get me by, get me by. And when you take that away, it's control. So you have to look at why they're trying to get rid of that, right? How does it benefit them? Well, it only benefits them because of control, because they can turn a bank account on and off. They can freeze a bank account right now if they wanted to. But what they can't do is mess with the fucking cash in my safe, right? Mess with the cash in my home.
Yep.
So to me, I mean, how do you teach people about work? You hire somebody to come mow your lawn. What are you going to do? Pay them with a fucking card? No, you pay them with cash. You hire a kid to come to the ranch. Like me, I hire a kid to come work on the ranch for a day, do some ranch work for the day. I'm going to pay him cash, If my kids want to have a fucking lemonade stand, they're going to take cash. And that also, is a great little ideal, but the reality is that some of us count on that cash just to get by, Yep. We count on that little bit of cash that we can make on the side just so that we can make ends meet. And people assume that because we own businesses that we have a lot of money, right?
If you have a business, you're rich.
You're rich. Oh, Carl's fucking rich. He drives a nice truck.
That all the fucking time.
He owns businesses. Oh, he must be fucking rich.
Yep.
Little do they know the struggle. I mean, they don't know how hard we fucking have to work and we have to hustle just to stay on top of things because it's fucking expensive, to run a business, And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm not complaining.
No.
I won't complain a day in my life. I could never go to work for everybody else. But for them to think that, that we can afford to operate without cash at all, they're out of their fucking minds,
I don't even fucking like half the Girl Scout cookies, but I tell you what, I get hit up for Girl Scout cookies. I get hit up for candy bars. I get hit up for, sponsor this team. I sponsor the softball team. But
100%.
That's where, that's people's mentality. They see you doing that. They don't realize that you're doing it for the good of your business and for the good of the people. So it's kind of a scratching in the back, but I've been in this game way too long. And I think that most of that shit comes from people aren't filling out the census. You have all these old people that have all their money buried in the backyard. They're trying to get it out. They're trying to get that back into the coffer.
You're right. Yeah.
It's absolute bullshit. So
no, it is. It's madness, and to me, it all comes down to control, and we can get into much more macro type conversation where we're talking about, our worldviews, and then I could get into, Israel and the Jews and what they're doing in our country. And I'm not, here we go. They're going to say he's a fucking Nazi. I'm absolutely not, but there's a bigger picture to this whole thing. We have to follow the money and see, who's in control of this whole thing. And it's pretty fucking scary when you go down that rabbit hole,
I was told by somebody who's in local government that told me basically, they called me and they said, "How you doing?" And I said, I am sick and tired of this bullshit. I have sat on my hands long enough. In the beginning, I did everything right. I was always told, as long as you do something right, that's all that matters. If
Yeah.
I've done everything right, and it still sucks balls. So
Yeah.
I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So I pretty much had to take a side. And they told me, they said, just wait till after November and everything will be fine. And I said,
Yeah.
you're going to have the #1 amount of foreclosures in this fucking
Mm-hmm.
county by the time this
Yeah.
shit's over with. And
100%.
the people that would make a difference are moving to other states that are already open.
They're leaving. Yeah. At the cycle, they're leaving at the rapid rate,
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, I don't know if the election is going to change much. I mean, I really think that if Trump gets elected again, they're going to triple down on their bullshit, and they're only going to make this worse. If Biden gets elected, then we're fucked, because now they're going to have a free fall. So I don't know. I don't know that we have a way out other than to focus on our local communities, and fight for each other. I mean, that's the only way I see it.
What is your
and I'm sort of disappointed in the president. Listen, I'm a Trump guy. I'm going to vote for Trump, okay, 100%. But I'm kind of disappointed at the same time. I'm kind of hoping that maybe he's taking his time working on something great, because right now he's really disappointing me in what he's not doing. So,
were you surprised at the amount of support that you got from your community? Did you realize that you reached that many people?
Well, yes, I was surprised. No, I did not expect it. I mean, like I said, I think I kind of became like the accidental focus here for a few days, and it'll be short-lived. I mean, I think in a few days everybody will forget who I am, and hopefully they'll remember what I said and do something with it. But no, I mean, we have a great community. We have fantastic people around here. I have a lot of friends, and I think my reach is fairly long, but shoot, I mean, this thing has made it all the way to the East Coast, and I think even overseas now, and I'm getting a lot of people and stuff, and I think it's great. But like I said, if anybody knows me, I'm not looking to be in the hot seat. I sort of just end up there all the time.
So you have no aspirations of running for public office?
I have too many skeletons in the closet, I think. I think there's a lot of women that would come out and say weird things about me. No, I'm just kidding.
There was this one time, but
I know. No. My wife laughs at me. She goes, "You have way too many skeletons in your closet." To rough
my
her off.
answer to that is I was young and needed the money. People need to stay in their own lane.
Right. No, you know what? I love my private life. I love the most important thing to me is my privacy and my personal life, my children. And I never would. I could shoulder it. My wife could definitely shoulder it. We could stomach, everything that would take. But I would never ever want to drag my children through the political process. I don't think that's something I'd want to do. I mean, maybe someday, but I don't know. But if the community needed me, if the country needed me, I think that I would. And to be honest with you, I feel like I can be way more influential on the outside than I can be on the inside. So
I totally, the one thing that I learned with this, like with my daughter, she tells me all the time, she's like, Daddy doesn't talk to a whole lot of people and you do all the time. And I said, it's the difference in, my husband would be perfectly content not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And I would have a problem if I couldn't speak to somebody. And he goes, there's always those two people that get together. It never fails. And he goes, you want to know why? Because people at a barbecue, you need somebody to cook the food and you need somebody to entertain the guests. He goes,
that's how it goes. No, 100%. That's how it goes. It's the yin and the yang, my wife and I are sort of an anomaly in that we're both a lot the same. We're both sort of firebrands, and that we're very outspoken, and maybe it's why we fight, but at the same time, we have a really, really awesome passion for each other, and our relationship works. I think we both kill each other, if it comes down to it, but there's awesome love there and a respect, and that we both are definitely alphas and like to be, on the leadership side of things, I guess. So
like my mom always says, if I'd have done what I wanted to 40 years ago, she goes, I'd have been paroled by now.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's true. And listen, I have no doubt that I'm on some FBI list now. I have no doubt through watching this. It's just how it goes. But
well, I tell you what, I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and sitting with me. And
listen, I hope I've been of help. I feel like, this message needs to get out, and people need to start relaying this message. It can't just be me. It can't just be you. It's got to be everybody. And we could turn this thing down. Let me just say this, before we have to go. Like, I'll say that we could end this thing tomorrow. We could end this madness tomorrow if we all just get on the same page. And there's a lot of us, and we can't be scared. We can no longer give the government the respect that we've been giving them, because they haven't deserved. They haven't proven to deserve our respect, So if tomorrow we all wake up and say, hey, you know what, we're just going to tell them to fuck themselves. We're going to open our businesses and we're going to go on with regular life. This whole thing would be over tomorrow, because we got to remember that government, law enforcement, officials, they only have the power we give them. That's the beauty of the American experiment, right? Is that they only have the power that we bestow upon them. If we don't bestow that power upon them anymore, then they lose it, So I just wish that Americans would actually remember that, So.
Do you think that's what this is going to take? You really think that it's going to take? It's not going to take the people that have the bachelor degrees or the fucking degrees in business or whatever, all these people obviously above my pay grade. Do you think it's going to take people like me, the middle class, the ones that know the difference between the B zone and everything else whenever it comes to fucking deer hunting? Do you think it's going to take us that are going to know how to fix this, or do you think it's going to take everybody? I mean, the middle class, the ones that have been told to sit down, do you think it's going to be the ones that are going to be to save it?
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal and again, this kind of opens up another conversation, in that you mentioned the bachelor's degrees, you mentioned, the people that lean more towards an agrarian type of life, which would be people like you and I, I mean, I love the agriculture, agrarian life. I love raising animals. I love being on a ranch. I love doing cowboy shit, and that sort of gets looked down upon. We get looked down upon as being the dumb hillbillies, But I am the anomaly because I'm also educated. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, I have a teaching credential, I educated myself when I was young. I have the military experience. I've done a lot of things in my life, I've lived a lot of lives, but I've always been drawn back to that agrarian blue collar type of life because I feel that that's where things are the most true. That's where things are the most raw. And I've always enjoyed life in the facets where you can't fake it. You could fake academic bullshit. You could be fake smart, right? Where you can know a lot of book shit. But if you don't know how to, kill an animal and how to feed your own family, then you're fucking worthless, So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but
trust me.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be people like us in that agrarian, agricultural, rural America type of life that are gonna make a difference because we are the silent minority, and I would even say that with the silent minority, with the silent majority, right? I mean, there's a lot of us. It's just that we don't spend our days trying to convince other people to think like us. We just spend our days living our lives and being normal fucking people like we are,
And we don't expect other people to do shit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not an activist. I never, look to be some kind of social fucking activist. I have too many things to do in one day to do that, but if that's the only way that we can get our voice heard is by doing things like this, which I love, I mean, talking to people like you, then we have to do it, right? Then we have to spend our time doing that, getting our message out, so that people actually know that they're not alone, because we're not going to convince anybody, right? Like Carlos Zapata, talking from his fucking living room like this isn't going to wake anybody up to say, oh shit, yeah, I need to think that way, right? But what it does is it wakes up that piece inside people that has already thought this way, that maybe were just too scared or thought they were too alone to voice it, and it gives them the power to know that they're not alone, to know that there's people like me and people like you out there that are willing to fucking, go to the ends of the earth to make sure that this message gets heard. So
it's just that little pebble of doubt that you want people to have. Just a little. Yeah. You don't have to admit that I'm right, and I don't have to admit that you're wrong. I don't have to do any of that shit. I just want it to where we can all agree that, because like I've told people before, I've never seen 2 sides where people are fucking vicious. Like it's either right or wrong. Blue
and
or red.
The
There's
jugular,
no in between.
Every single. Yep. Absolutely, because they've created a very us versus them mentality. A you versus me. It can't be us trying to figure out a solution together and having different opinions on how to come to a good conclusion. It's not that. It's that you're going to have your ideas, I'm going to have mine, and by God, we're going to scream at each other until somebody gets tired of screaming. And that's it.
You
It's
just want to
bullshit.
look at them and just be like, are we going to fight or fuck? Which one is it going to be? Let's get this over with. Come on.
I like doing both. So, you know.
There you go. You can fight,
But like I said earlier, I like to
fuck
fight
while
more.
you're doing it.
I like fight more.
Hey, I want to tell everybody, if you guys get an opportunity, I have heard amazing things about the Palomino Room located in Red Bluff. It's at 723 Main Street. You guys are awesome. I've heard you guys have the best burgers.
We have really good burgers. You know?
Everybody that I have talked to literally have said, have you got in there for a burger? Have you got in there for a burger? Holy shit. Mike Branson, who I was talking to, is like, dude, you got to go down there and get a fucking burger.
We have a super large, extensive menu. But over the course of the past few weeks, you know, I've sort of started to shrink it down. I'm like, shit, why don't we just do a fucking burger house and tacos? That's all everybody ever orders anyway. You know? Burgers and tacos, and they're both really good. So, hey, listen, if you come in, you know, please, if I'm there, I'd love to sit down and talk with you or any of your, you know, the people that follow your show, follow your podcast. You know, I mean, it's always fun to talk to people. I think we can get a lot done by just supporting each other, loving each other, and let each other know that we're here to support one another. You know, that goes a really long way. You know, so.
When I've learned this shit, it's I tell you what, the Musketeers had a lot of things going for them, and that is all for one and one for all. So, brother, I want to let you know that I'm here for you, and as a fellow business owner and
likewise,
a small town gal, I want to let you know you got a Viking in me. So if you ever need me, all you have to do is holler, and I'm there.
And I can say that 100% the same the other way. You know, please reach out, and thank you for having me. This means a lot.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. If you guys want, go get the best burgers, the coldest beer, head on over to the Palomino Room located in Red Bluff, 723 Main Street. And this is Monica from No Conditions. If you guys have any questions, email me at noconditions2020@gmail.com. And peace. Thanks so much, buddy.
Monica, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.